The man was a hero respected by thousands of people, but he fell from the sky and became a little prison guard. Because the hero can't hurt people at will, the prison guard can protect himself. Not long ago, the man captured the most vicious and evil bandit, and his teammates were all killed. At that time, he had the opportunity to kill him directly, but he dared not do it because he had promised his companion to let the criminal accept the legal sanctions. And this is the decision he regretted the most in his life. The missing white hair was sentenced to death by the law and was temporarily imprisoned in the Rooker prison, which is heavily guarded. The man was watching the news at home alone. In addition to the judgment of the white hair, the funeral ceremony of the heroes will be held tonight. The man listened to the news with a gloomy face. At this time, a man walked over and turned off the TV. The man is the man's brother. He is a prison guard. The man looked at his brother and regretted not killing the white hair himself. However, the brother persuaded the man to listen to his partner's persuasion. The words of his former partner echoed in his ears. The hero's duty is to save people, not to kill people. Even if he is a vicious criminal, he should also be sanctioned by the law. No matter what happens, he can't kill people. The man was not convinced of this, but he also followed the agreement. The man's brother also thought that the criminal should be judged by the law and then executed by the prison guard. Finally, the brother told the man that the white hair would be executed next week. Then, the two went to the hero's funeral together. It was supposed to end here, but the man didn't expect that what he was waiting for a week later was his brother's funeral. At this moment, he was desperate and didn't know what happened. Why was the guy who was sentenced to death fine, and as the executioner's brother, he died? The man was silent and guarded in front of his brother's tomb, but was suddenly interrupted by a sound. The person who came was the prison warden of Rooker's prison. The warden handed a tablet to the man, and the top was the execution record of the white hair. The moment his brother executed the execution order, Rooker's prison suddenly shut down. At the same time, there was a strong electromagnetic shock on the white hair. Several execution guards were blown away on the spot, and the white-haired artist who freed the executioner killed them all. The man looked at everything on the screen in disbelief. At the same time, the prison warden said that the situation was very bad, because in addition to the white hair, all the prisoners in the prison were released. Unfortunately, the prison was closed in time and stopped the escape of the executioner. But the prison guard inside didn't have a chance to get out. At this moment, the man bit his teeth to ask who was responsible for the electromagnetic shock. However, the prison warden knew nothing about it. The warden came here only for one thing, which was to ask the man to suppress the riots in Rooker's prison. Of course, the man was very happy to serve, but at the same time, he had a condition. Since his companion said that the hero's duty was to save people, and the prison guard said that only the law could sentence humans, and only the prison guard could carry out the execution, then in Rooker's prison, he would no longer be a hero, but a prison guard. I'm Jiangliu, a prison guard. Please take care of me. The prisoners on the first floor saw that the man in the prison guard's clothes hadn't realized the seriousness of the situation yet and thought that the other party would not dare to kill people as before. They rushed up one by one, but the man just threw a punch and a path came out directly in the middle. At this time, the bosses on the underground floors all felt this unusual atmosphere. The white-haired artist was excited and laughed. "You're finally here!" The man tidied up his clothes and started the execution from now on. I heard that the prison guard was going to execute them. The executioners on the other side were all very angry. The prisoners on the first floor were just carrying a few lives. Why did they have to be killed? It's not that they didn't treat us as human beings. The stupid people were still arguing to find a lawyer. The smart people were ready to escape. While others were distracted by the man, the green-haired man flashed behind the man. He thought he was free, but he really underestimated the man. When he saw the man's cold turn and kick out, the green-haired man immediately took the risk. This scene directly shocked everyone, and the surroundings became quiet for a moment. At this time, the man kindly gave a choice. Either go back and put on a mask, or die. The prisoner had the intention to retreat. This is a voice coming from the crowd. Of course, it's the chosen one. The man said, "Anyway, all of them are dead. Why don't you fight for once? After all, this choice is too unfriendly to them." However, in the face of the other party's mockery, the man said, "This is the last kindness I will give you." The prisoners across the street were serious. The prisoners started to get scared one by one. As a result, a loud shout came out of that man's mouth. Everyone was shocked to see that man. The man said, "Heroes are nothing to be afraid of. As long as you kill him, you can enjoy freedom." And the man also recognized the person in front of him. It turned out to be you, the garbage that the prison warden said. Before that, the prison warden introduced the basic situation to the man here. The prison of Rookers is divided into criminals according to the degree of danger of the prisoners. 300 criminals locked on one floor are basically serial killers. 100+ prisoners on the ground floor can put a village in danger. More than 30 prisoners on the second floor can put a city in danger. 10 prisoners on the third floor can put a country in danger. 5 prisoners on the fourth floor can put a continent in danger. And 3 people, including Bai Mao, can put the world in danger on the 5th floor. Of course, there are not so many enemies. Because the prisoners are just a piece of sand. If they have a chance, they'll stab each other. And one layer is united with a certain person as a center. Seerlison, a person who can strengthen the other party through voice. Looking at the man in front of him, Rooker read out his crime. He killed 7 citizens and a second-class hero. But the other party corrected Rooker's statement. 10. Total 10 people, because that heroine was pregnant. Rooker looked at the ugly, fat face in silence. In that case, let's be more serious. Rooker called the prison warden to ask if the prison was strong enough. This got the prison warden's definite answer. Wen Yun, Rooker, don't worry. It seems that you don't need to be careful to control the force. And the other man thought Rooker was bluffing. After all, compared to the other heroes, Rooker was silent. They thought Rooker was using his partner's life as a bait to catch the white cat. So they gradually became arrogant. With Seerlison's power, all the prisoners were strengthened. They rushed towards Rooker. However, Rooker just kicked out. The first few rows of people all flew out. Next, Rooker turned on the serious mode. With his punch, all the prisoners were like fairies. When Rooker landed, there was a wet mountain behind him. One layer execution is complete. Next, there is only the waiting process. Rooker has been walking all the way. He doesn't know how many people he has killed. Even if he encounters a few outcasts occasionally, he will be kind enough to leave them a choice. Is he wearing a mask or dead? But none of the people who chose the mask have died yet. Usually the prisoner rushed up and then the prisoner died. Of course, there are also a few people who think they're smart. First, they pretended to surrender, agreed to wear a mask. They tried to make Rooker relax his vigilance. Then, they took the opportunity not to launch a surprise attack. In the end, they didn't consider the difference in strength. Rooker's power hit, but it couldn't even break Rooker's skin. At this time, Rooker remembered a sentence from his former partner. Those who are not physically capable are so pitiful. They can only be far away. They can never feel the pleasure of destroying people with their own hands. So Rooker also experienced a feeling of boxing. This feeling seems to really be good. After dealing with the miscellaneous fish, Rooker came to the last single cell. The one who appeared in front of him was Rooker's old acquaintance, Chuck Fielder. They once set up a group of heroes to arrest him because of his extremely bad behavior and the arrogant look of not knowing how to repent until death. Rooker wanted to kill him at that time. However, in the end, he was stopped by his captain. At that time, although Rooker was extremely dissatisfied, he had to turn around and leave. Now that he has seen this scum again, Rooker is still kind enough to make a choice. Of course, the result can be expected without guessing. Seeing this, Rooker is no longer talking nonsense. It's like a flash across the other party's body. However, the other party did not die. It turned out that the sound before was just an illusion. Fielder began to count himself. The reason why he likes to kill people is that he hopes that he will stay in those people's memories forever. Even if they die, he can never forget, because he can imprint his own figure in their eyes, and he remembers that everyone can make them reappear. He said that he just wanted to show off a victim. As a result, his arm fell off his body. Rooker calmly looked at the other party. He is really a criminal who can live in a single cell. This mouth really speaks, but you don't seem to be able to avoid my attack. At this time, Fielder already knew that he would die here, But before he died, he had a question. "Do you still remember how many people you killed along the way?" Rooker said that he didn't need to remember, you bastards. However, the sound of words just fell. He saw his dead companion appear in front of him again. The pink-haired mother began to persuade Rooker again that he could not kill people. Seeing this, Fielder thought he could live. But he didn't know that this made Rooker angrier. The so-called inability to kill people eventually killed his brother. Next, Rooker did not give them a second thought. At this time, Rooker's face was full of gloom. "What else can't you do?" Fielder didn't expect that the other party could cut off the voice of his companion without hesitation. But he only listened to Rooker's heartless words. "Anyway, it's just an illusion." Rooker's eyes were shocked. At the next moment, he turned around and was divided into two. At this time, Rooker said coldly that he was not a hero now, but a prison guard. Fielder, who had one last breath, looked at the other party's back. "You are not a prison guard at all. You are just a simple monster." At this time, outside the prison, there were 3 people watching everything, and looking at Rooker's performance inside, one of them was full of excitement. He appeared! "He is the husband I'm looking for." Just as Rooker finished dealing with the dirt on the ground, the prison warden came forward to asked if Rooker needed to take a break. However, Rooker said he didn't need to. Let the prison warden open the door immediately. The prison warden stopped talking, but before that, he had one more thing to ask Rooker for. He hoped he could bring back the prison guards who were still alive below. Rooker wanted to know how many people were still alive on each floor, but the prison warden didn't know about it either, because the communication devices started to be destroyed from the ground floor. Only the 5th floor remained intact. It was as if the people inside wanted someone to see it. After hearing Rooker, he asked the other party to open the door. As the prison warden ordered, the steel doors slowly opened on both sides. At this time, the prison warden reminded Rooker to be careful, because the gap between the ground floor and the 1st floor was like the sky and the ground. As soon as the door was opened, Rooker became serious, because there had already been an ambush behind the door. They attacked recklessly. Various bullets were fired. The prison warden was shocked. He shouted to Rooker, but at the next moment a prisoner came to him. Then he pinched his neck and raised it high. "You are the prison warden here." "That's great! He caught a big fish." Looking at the evil figure of the other party, the man turned around and greeted his friend. "Hey, this is the prison warden here. Why don't you come and line up?" At this moment, he was in a good mood. But when he saw the scene behind him, he froze on the spot. Because in this short moment, he saw a fly. He dared not look up confidently. As a result, he only saw Rooker jumping to his head at this time. At the next moment, with a strong punch from Rooker, the violent impact threw the prison warden out directly. As for that man, he was everywhere. At this time, Rooker looked down at the prison warden lying on the ground. "Don't follow me later, it's dangerous," Rooker replied in a low voice. "Got it." Seeing that Rooker was about to leave, the prison warden shouted again. Finally, he had one more thing to say to Rooker. The buried parents were in a single room. Rooker said he knew it, then he turned around and left. At this time, in a single room underground, all of the remaining prisoners were gathered here. Listening to the constant sound of the horn outside, they prayed for their success. Of course, this hope was soon broken by heartlessness. The woman is the former hero's father. She has the record of killing 28 heroes. She doesn't like these brainless things at all. Soon, her arrogant attitude made a man shout, "Do you want to die?" However, the woman seemed to have heard a joke. A group of losers. Have you ever killed a capable person? The man was enraged. His ability to launch gave the whole person a sense of power. However, as the saying goes, he can't be handsome for 3 seconds. The next second, he was brushed and divided into 2. At this time, the woman had changed her appearance. Her hair and claws became extremely sharp. When she was a hero, she solved a lot of bad guys, and at the same time, she also found a way to kill a capable person, and she also knew the man's ability. So the woman invited the rest to cooperate. She can give them the method to hunt down the capable person. On the other hand, the 3 groups outside the prison watched the man's performance. The little girl was very shocked. Obviously, her choice before was a white-haired boy. To save her, she even used electromagnetic shock. One of the men questioned, "That man is a hero. It doesn't help us at all." As a result, the little girl said excitedly, "That's just the past. As for now, he doesn't look like a hero." Even so, the other two people said, "You can only choose one. After all, it's illegal to have more than one wife." Wen Yan, the little girl, felt a little upset. It's really hard to choose. In this case, so who can survive in the end? Who is the destined one in her life? "I'm really a genius." The man is about to be killed. Fu Muddle began to share the information of the man, because he was also a hero with a lot of experience. At this time, the purple-haired man asked a question. "Even if you know his ability, what's the use? After all, he is a member of the Alliance made up of heroes, and the people here are only as high as level 3. Wen Yan, Fu Muddle was confident. Of course he knows this. But since the hero Rosa became the leader of the Alliance, he started the hero reform. First, he redefined the hero and stopped the hero from killing the bad guys. Second, he regularly asked the heroes to cooperate with the team. And in the end, he abolished the hero level from 1 to 5. And the reason why Fu Muddle said so much is because when the man entered the Alliance, the level system had been abolished. He has no record of being able to take any action, so that the outside world has spread that he has an agreement with Rosa.